Okay. Amara, are you good? Okay. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for this year, 2024, to the News Record and Star Ledger last December 2023, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Bright. Here. Mr. Daffis.
Present.
Mr. DeLuca.
Here.
Zangle.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas the desire of the governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, same time it conducts its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee, Township Maplewood does hereby prohibit except to set forth in a formal agenda active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations and the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Bright.
Yes.
Daffis.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. Please rise for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, July 16th, 2024 meeting of the Maplewood Township Committee. Apologies for being a little bit late. We had some business to do in closed session. Tonight's meeting, we will have a proclamation for the designation of July as Parks and Recreation Month. That'll be read by Deputy Mayor Kripe. We have 2 appointments to boards and committees, one for Zoning Board of Adjustment and one for Youth Advisory Committee. Then we will have public comment for agenda items only. Then we have a final ordinance on final passage for amending the code of setbacks and stepbacks in our zoning ordinance for R15 and R17 zones. We have no new ordinances on for introduction. Then we have reports from departments, administrative reports, township administrator, attorney, and then township clerk. Elected official reports, committee member Engel, committee member Daffis, deputy mayor Kripe, and committee member DeLuca will go before my report. We have 3 discussion items or 3 related discussion items. Prior approvals to zoning for demolition or construction permits, property maintenance during construction, contractor containment, ordinance to or discussion to be considered, and that those will all be led as our code committee chair, committee member Daffis. We have a consent agenda, and then we will have a second open public comment for any subject matter, and then we will adjourn. So with that, I will turn to Deputy Mayor Kripe and ask that you read the proclamation for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mayor. This proclamation is for the designation of July as Parks and Recreations Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the Township of Maplewood, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. Whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is the leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to the childhood development. Whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, our parks and natural recreation areas ensure that the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreations Month, the Township of Maplewood recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of our mayor, Nancy Adams, and the members of the Township Committee, we proclaim that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in Maplewood. Thank you.
Thank you. For that.
Parks and Rec.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Now we move to boards and committees, and we have, I believe, on Zoom, Mr. Worry is Mr. Glenn Mary, who is being put forth as the alternate number 1 for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Could you move him over? While you're moving him over, I'll just, Mr. Mary and I had a very good conversation. There he is. For 15 or 20 minutes a few weeks ago, talking about his interest in giving back. But now that you're right there on the screen, Mr. Mary, I'll let you tell us about yourself and why you're interested.
Well, thank you and welcome me to the meeting tonight. I apologize, I'm not there to be in person. I actually live just about 8 houses up the street from where you guys are meeting, but I'm in Alabama tonight. So thank you for allowing me to meet by Zoom. I assume you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I've been a resident of Maplewood for the last 15 years. This month actually marks the anniversary of our buying our home over on Oakview, and have observed and enjoyed living in the town for those 15 years. We have 2 children that go to Maplewood schools, and our son will be entering high school next year. We've had a lot of renovation on our house, and we've hired in and done some of it ourselves and had to file the permits and been part of the zoning process from a user end. I'm at a point in my career where I have more time to commit back and volunteer to the community, and I thought this might be a good way to do it. My own background has been working in the nonprofit management field, in the field of sports. I worked for the Olympic team for 20 years, and I now run Move United, which is a disability sports organization, a national organization. Manage budgets, I manage staff, I work with volunteers, work in governance, and creating policies. So I'm hopeful that while it's not zoning related or construction related, my experience might be of value to the zoning committee and to the Township of Maplewood.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that thoughtful response. Is anyone of my colleagues have any questions for Mr. Mary?
No.
No? Then I would like move his nomination to the Zoning Board of Adjustment as alternate 1. Can I get a second?
A second.
Ms. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis.
Yes.
Mr. Luca.
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. That's
Welcome.
all it took. Now now you got a meeting to go to every month.
I understand that. Thank you very much, and I look forward to serving the township over the next months and hopefully longer than that. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Cheers.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move over to Committee Member Engel.
Thank you. So I am putting forward Ellie Tamir Hone for the Youth Advisory Committee, and she is here with us in person. Ellie, do you want to come to the podium and just tell the Township Committee a little bit about yourself and your interest in joining this board?
Hi, my name's Ellie. I'm going to be a junior at Columbia High School next year, and I would love to be a part of the committee because currently I'm the president of Key Club at Columbia, which is a national nonprofit organization, and I've made several improvements to the school, which help improve the environment and have helped improve the community by donating to Planned Parenthood and Isaiah House. And I would love to propose new ideas for the town as well to create more efficiency for the youth, including several ideas which I've told Deb over the years, and I would love to personally actually, communicate them directly.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Any questions from my colleagues?
No, but I'm glad you're just going to be a junior, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, we got you for
For
2
2
years.
years.
then.
Yes. Yes, you're not graduating, right? Yeah.
Don't make it seem so threatening.
Great. So I nominate Ellie Tamir Hone to join our Youth Advisory Committee.
I'll
Second that.
I'll second that.
Ms. Craig,
Yes, and welcome.
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you very much for stepping up.
Yeah.
We look
Congratulations, Ellen.
Awesome. I love seeing Key Kamala still doing stuff.
Yeah.
Was a key nerd when I was.
So we're at the point where we have public comment for agenda items only on tonight's agenda. So I'd ask anyone in the house here tonight to come on up to the podium if you wanted to speak and tell us your name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to speak?
Jane Conrad, 35 Roosevelt Road. I'm just here, wanted to hand deliver a little contribution from the Shade Tree Subcommittee. We were hoping this would be relevant to discussion item number 13 about preserving your property during construction. And what this is just, I did email all of you, but you probably didn't see it. It's just a few sets of rules or diagrams of how other jurisdictions have handled this issue. There's like Princeton, what they did. It's very educational. Nice little watercolor drawing of like the right way to do it. New York City, very fierce on compliance, $15,000 fines, up to a year in jail if you don't, do what they say. But also some good drawings that show, how to set up protections, and also what if you have to like drive across an area that has tree roots, how to do it in a protective way. And then there's Jersey City, good on tree pits and, working around utilities. And then finally, we threw in, I think this is the National Parks Commission, talking about protecting historic trees, and they had a couple of examples of what not to do. So anyway, really it should be Alanya presenting all this to you. She's touring colleges in Pennsylvania, but she will be at the next meeting to see what you have done about this. So anyhow, hope you can work it in somewhere, because we need trees and we're losing a lot of them
Yeah.
and they need some protection. So
I'll pass it around.
okay.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Yeah.
I know we have talked internally, and with our Director of Community Development is here. We have some prior approvals related to trees that we've instituted in the last year or so. So, but we'll look at everything you brought and try to,
If there's more information we
good
can
stuff.
gather, we're happy to collaborate if we can.
yeah. Great, thank you, Ms. Conrad. Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Donald Punt. I live at 50 Bowdoin Street in the College Hill neighborhood. Some of you are my neighbors. I've been in Maplewood for about 15 years, 2009. That might have been the last time I was actually in town hall for the welcome like reception with Mayor DeLuca at the time. I'm here to speak about the ordinance, I guess that's coming up in the next bullet item 8A. I actually just learned about the ordinance as of yesterday from my architect, Steve Majewski, who's sitting here in the audience. I want to speak about this because my family is currently in the midst of a renovation plan, which actually entails utilizing the current setback rule of 5 feet to allow us to expand our kitchen and build a larger room for my daughter and do some additional work they've been planning for quite some time. We also have to the point of, I think someone was saying earlier, we have a tree in the back of our house that we're trying to maintain. So a lot of what we're doing for our renovation plans is to really, keep in mind the tree in our house. So the work, the work that we want to do to build out our modest home, but also be respectful of our neighbors and the environment around us. We totally understand, my wife and I totally understand sort of the need for this ordinance, because we see a lot of the houses being built currently where there seems to be a lot of disregard to, the setback. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
We'll have her turn it on again later.
A lot of disregard to the neighbors and sort of the space around houses, as a lot of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, flippers, other folks come in and try to build giant houses and not really pay attention to the neighbors to the left and the right and the back. I'm here to speak about the ordinance because I would like to ask for a potential grace period or some sort of exception clause be built into the ordinance, considered for it, because of families like our family, where we're in the midst of trying to do renovation, and should the ordinance go into effect prior to us being able to actually do work, then we are likely forced to go back to the drawing board for, the modest renovation that we were planning to do. I literally just learned about this ordinance as of yesterday, so I don't know, like, at what point, in the process, the consideration of this new rule is, but if there's still time to build in some sort of grace or exception clause to it, I would, I'm sure myself, my wife, other families are in the process, would greatly appreciate consideration.
So, I probably should have stopped you earlier, but it's the next thing on the agenda anyway, so that's right, because normally this kind of commentary on a specific ordinance on second reading would come during the public hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I figure why not, So, but also it informs, and I'll ask Ms. Credidio to give that, mull that over a little bit while we're, because we do have some things to talk about with regard to that ordinance on second reading. So the good news is it'll probably end up back on first reading with a couple of changes, not with regard to the setbacks, but with regard to step backs of the front portion of the garage. So you can come up again and speak when you hear our discussion if you'd like, and then we'll see where that goes, but there is a little breathing room here. So I don't know if your architect wanted to speak during the ordinance hearing? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so did you hear anything I just said? No? Okay,
No, Mayor,
Yeah,
if we're not going to do,
right, go
we're
ahead.
not going to do a second reading tonight, we wouldn't do the public hearing. So if they want to
Okay.
speak now.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so basically I was just saying we are going to be making some changes to this ordinance, not with regard to setbacks, but with regard to the other part of the ordinance that deals with step backs for the building itself. So you're welcome to comment. It will be on for first reading again at the next meeting. The planning board also reviewed it last meeting, so we already have their input, but you'll hear our discussion, hopefully.
Because of the short time, I'm concerned about what happens next. As you see, there's not a lot of public that knows about it yet, and affects a lot of people. Oh, just for the record, Steve Majewski, our
Yes.
offices in South Orange, but I had 2 daughters living in Maplewood. One still lives here. I do a lot of work here.
Mhm.
May not be doing that much work for much longer, but I'm worried about the housing stock. My previous clients, the homeowners of Maplewood who have older homes,
Mhm.
need to do improvements. The change to make it severely less than 5 or 7 feet would impact greatly on improving. So I think as long as there's more consideration about the way the ordinance is written, and that the planning board, I guess, can make adjustments and review or.
Well, the planning board's already opined on this ordinance, so they wouldn't really have anything more to do with this. But I mean, there are ways for residences to, there's either amended plans or going for a variance. So there are avenues for getting out of this ordinance, but
About the burden on the zoning board, because it will make a lot of projects to the zone.
yeah, we've been talking about this in our code committee for quite a while, and actually going through a lot of those. We talked about unintended consequences. We talked about the impact with regard to people trying to expand their house, say out the back, and having to jog it in. And we've heard even testimony of residents who have said that they had to do that and it worked out fine. And then the other remedy, of course, is to go for a variance so that they could be just the 5-foot setback. Our bigger goal, our larger goal in discussion this is to try to reduce bulk, because a lot of, while many of our, especially local architects, are very mindful and thoughtful about the appearance of homes in town because you have a buy-in and love for the community. There are many that we're seeing, and we've been forewarned by other towns like Westfield that have had a lot of McMansion issues going on, where mostly it's flippers buying houses. That's why we just redid our demolition ordinance. So all of this kind of goes to trying to keep the scale of the buildings on our streets the way we all moved, the way they were when we all moved here, or at least respectful of that, rather than cramming as much house as possible in. And this was one way we thought about going about it. So, but more to come.
I agree. There are some very large houses that I would not personally have.
Right.
needed, knowing how I practice my business and my relationship to the two towns, Maplewood and South Orange.
Yes, exactly. So appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a question. In this particular house, where are you in the process?
Sorry, where,
In this particular house,
In the one you're designing on
Where-
Bowdoin.
where are you in the process in the house?
beginning of March, and we went through a number of budget discussions with contractors. Went into contract in March, and we just basically picked the final design when we found out about this.
Okay.
Okay, so you haven't gotten a building permit or anything?
Sorry.
You
Building
haven't received the
permits.
building permit?
Oh,
No, not applied
I
for
work
it.
here today because
Okay,
we've
just
gone through quite
wanna
a
make sure,
process
okay.
and expense. And, usually there's some sort of, I don't think grandfather is the correct word, or is a timetable that it gets actually put into effect, these kind of ordinances. Usually you get 3 months or something to get something turned in. And I did send a commentary through the email because I didn't know if we
Mhm.
could make it. And I did say that many towns put in a time period, or you can also check to say, when did we go under contract, that we knew that we were doing a design that we thought complied, and it did, but now we find out under the new ordinance, it may not anymore.
Mhm.
Already, the homeowner has put into a significant amount of investment and time, and it's something that should be taken into consideration when the ordinance is confirmed for a time process to bring in the ordinance.
Appreciate it.
Even the state does that. When the state approves changes to the code law, you get a time period before it has to go into effect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, thank you very
Help a
much.
lot of people significantly and cut down on the stress of the building department and your zoning board, because then I would be able to design, I would know what the ordinance is, and I would be designing to it.
Of course. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Warriors, or is there anyone else in the house? Just come on up. Thank you.
I have 3 minutes, so, right? So my name is Naya Stevens. I live on Burnett Avenue. I purchased my home in 2000. I went to school at Seton Hall. I've been in this area forever. And I am saddened by what I'm seeing lately in my area. The code, I don't know what happened to the code for maintaining your lawn, the shrubs. I walked to Walgreens Sunday morning. I can't even walk down the street. I can't walk on the sidewalk. People's shrubs are like, they have taken over the sidewalk. I mean, it's unsafe. I got to walk in the street. I can't imagine what the children have to go through during the school year. I mean, it's just not safe. I have a house across the street from me at 74 Burnett Avenue. It is semi-commercial. It is horrendous. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how awful this house looks. It's embarrassing. I don't know what to do. It's semi-commercial. It's all kind of cars in there, trucks in there. There's no pavement there. There's dead trees in the back. Garbage on Tuscan going toward 7-Eleven, and the dollar store is horrendous. It is awful. I've seen raccoons there. I've seen rats crossing the street. I mean, I am really saddened by this because I do make an effort to put money into my home. I try to reinvest. I always consider my neighbors. This is awful. We have an abandoned house there on Tuscan Road. There was a car that rode into the base of the house. The foundation of the house last summer is set there for the entire summer, okay? And it's finally been moved. The door is open. Now squatters are going in there. I mean, it's just, I don't know what it's turning into. You know, I've discussed it with my neighbors. I mean, we don't know what to do. I have I've called down to the town last summer. I always call when there's a problem. I call for someone to come out. You know, I just don't know what to do. This house at 74 Burnett Avenue, someone needs to come out and take a look at it. Just because it's semi-commercial does not mean that it should be neglected. There are commercial properties on North Avenue in Maplewood, and they do not keep their properties that way. I feel like there's money there, and some of these people, I mean, honestly, when I walk down Burnett Avenue Sunday morning and the people can't pave their driveway, they can't maintain their lawns, they have the shrubs growing out all over the sidewalk. To me, honestly, I mean, I understand if there's a financial, issue there, but however, if you can have a Tesla in the driveway, I feel like there should be some type of money in the house to maintain the property. I mean, just keep it neat at least, and what happened to the code? The people used to walk the blocks. They used to give tickets and fines. And I think this is the only way that these people are going to maintain the area. Why, after 20 years of me having my house, 24 years, why do I mean, I don't even want to put new siding on my house because I don't know if it's worth it. I want to put hardy on my house. I don't know if it's worth it, because, it may be it may be better for me to just walk away at this point. I mean, the area's just gone down. I mean, I just don't know what's going on, and no one's reinforcing the codes. I mean, what's happening here?
Okay. Understood and noted. And our Director of Community Development, I'm sure, is making note of it, and we will follow up. And there is a way to report a concern through our website so that you didn't have to come out tonight, but we hear you loud and clear.
Should I take pictures? I mean, I brought that.
You can always do that and submit it through the website.
I've come down here and I've went to the code office. They've come out, for different other instances when I had a neighbor keeping chickens in the backyard. I mean, I've done this. I mean, I'm
We'll follow.
exhausted. I don't know what to do.
I'm confident we'll be following up on the area and making sure that someone goes over and checks and make sure to have the property maintenance enforce our code.
Okay, then.
Okay, thanks for your time. Thank you. Would anyone else in the house like to speak on agenda items only? Mr. Wary, anyone online?
Any member of the public joining us on Zoom would like to speak on agenda items, please raise your hand now. And Fred Smith has raised his hand. I will move him to panelist. Declined to be promoted. If any other members of the public would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll move on now to ordinances on final passage. Ms. Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 3126-24 is an ordinance to amend chapter 271 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Zoning and Development Regulations with respect to R15 and R17 zones. This ordinance will amend Article 5 zoning provisions of chapter 271 of the Township Code to amend setbacks and stepbacks in R15 and R17 zones.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board and municipal building, copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. So normally I would open a public open hearing on this ordinance right now. But I think since, as we referred to before, we have some changes that we will be discussing, and I'll hand it over to the Code Committee Chair, Mr. Daffis. Would you like to explain what I'm talking about?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And yes, we do have some, this went to the planning board as is required to do for their review. And there was a robust conversation about this ordinance. And there has been some recommendations that were received during that discussion. And since then, and I'm going to turn it over to our township attorney, Ms. Credidio, to sort of caption for us what the planning board recommended. The planning board did find that the ordinance is in keeping with the master plan, so that's not in controversy, but they did have a couple of recommendations. Ms. Credidio?
Thank you. As you stated, the planning board reviewed it at their meeting on July 9th. They circulated a memorandum whereby they made two recommendations. Under the municipal land use law, the township committee, in adopting a development regulation, is required to do one of two things: either to incorporate a recommendation that's provided by the planning board, or to affirmatively vote not to incorporate that recommendation by a majority of your full authorized membership, and for us to state at the meeting our reasons why that recommendation is being rejected. So the two recommendations that they made are both with respect to Section 2 of the ordinance. So Section 2 of the ordinance would amend the table entitled Minimum Requirements at Section 70A 4A of the Township Code. Their second recommendation was with respect to a step back for second-story construction above front-facing garages. The proposed ordinance would add a new requirement that the step back for second-story construction on front-facing attached garages shall be no less than 2 feet behind the front facade of the attached garage. And the planning board, with respect to that bullet in Section 2 of the ordinance, recommended that we additionally study this item and not take action on that bullet at this time.
And what was the recommendation with respect to setbacks in the R17?
So with respect to side yard setback, Section 2 of the ordinance proposes an increase of 2 feet with respect to the side yard in both the R15 and R17 zones, from 5 feet to 7 feet in R15, from 7 feet to 9 feet in R17. There is a portion of that table, which this ordinance is amending, that also requires that the combined side yard setback in both of those zones be no less than 25% of the lot width. The planning board recommended that in R17, which is the larger zone, that should be increased to 30%. So they didn't have any issue with the increases as we set them forth, but they would like us to also add in this ordinance a requirement that in R17, the combined side yard is no less than 30% of the lot width.
And that was mostly for equity in the application of the law between zones.
Right, so that the R15, the smaller lot, isn't disproportionately affected, which is what the discussion was about with respect to this at the planning board, Mayor. You were there. So Mayor, with respect to that recommendation that we just heard, I recommend that we move forward with the recommendation to increase from 25 to 30%. Would you like to make any comments about that?
No.
Is there any discussion from the township committee about that? Are we all on board with that recommendation?
Yeah, I think, the discussion or introduction and the discussion prior to that, we were all kind of on the same page.
Right. And then with respect to the proposed in the ordinance 4-foot setback for the attached garage, front-facing garage, I think we should go back to code and further look at that. We did receive some good information, and we should take, including an ordinance from Madison, I believe it was the Borough of Madison, on how they're dealing with this. So we should go back to code and keep talking about it. Are we all okay with that?
Yes.
So, Ms. Credidio, how do
Let me
we,
just
go ahead.
clarify, if you don't mind? You said the 4 feet, you're referring, I think, to the step back, the 2-foot step back for the second story construction, correct? Which is the fourth bullet. We're not recommending amending the setback of the front-facing garage.
Right. We're not at this moment, I'm not recommending, and I think there's consensus about not moving forward with either the two bullets that relate to the front-facing
Any
garages.
step back just
Right.
to move
Okay.
forward with this setbacks on the side yard setbacks
Right.
tonight.
At 30.
Okay, just because the planning board recommendation only dealt with the fourth bullet, not with both the third and fourth.
It only dealt with the 2 foot on the second story, not the
Correct.
4 foot from the main structure.
Correct.
Correct, but I think it makes sense, and I think Mr. Daffis is making that point that we do both of them, since they're related to each other, that we talk it in full.
Sure. So if the township committee wishes to move forward, the process would be, we would make an there'd be a motion to amend the existing ordinance to strike bullets number 3 and 4
Mhm.
and to add a new bullet that would, in that section 2, that would state R17 zone, side yard combined, increase from 25% to 30%.
Yeah.
If we make that amendment, we will then be here, because it is a material change to the ordinance. We will be hearing second reading and public hearing at our August 6th meeting. We'll give the public another chance to comment at that time. With respect to the question that we had a little earlier, as a general rule, these ordinances apply at the time of application. So it used to be a time of decision rule, now it's a time of application rule. So whether you're going in for your planning application or your building permits, whatever the state of the law is on the day that you do that, is what applies. Of course, as you mentioned, Mayor, a property owner can always seek a variance from the provisions of the statute.
Right. So I don't know if the speakers at public comment, were you able to hear Ms. Credidio with regard to the timing of the, typically with laws like this is based on the time of the application for a permit. So since I think you got a little time, you might want to, or this board can consider putting in a little time for proof of contract with an architect, but I think that personally, I think that muddies everything up and it's not typical. And I don't know if it would stand the test of law, but I think this does give time for you to be sort of grandfathered in if you get the application in before the ordinance passes on second
So-
reading.
So one thing we can just do is say this ordinance goes into effect 30 days after we approve it. I'm fine.
Right. Right.
And not deal with anything, they don't have to prove anything, just,
Sure, we could give the
Just-
perspective.
so it can, we can say 30 days, 60 days, 45 days. We're not going to approve this till August, so
Right.
there's
Mhm.
at least 3 weeks
3
there.
weeks, yeah.
And then we can pick a time. It is difficult over the summer if we wanted to. I mean, my suggestion would make it September 30th or October 1st, just to have it effective then.
Okay, so I'm gonna move the amendment to increase to 30% as recommended and as proposed by committee member DeLuca to make the law effective should it pass on second reading October 1st of 2024.
And to also strike bullets number.
And to strike the other bullets that relate
with
to
respect
the
to the garage.
garages. Yep.
Yeah,
We-
I'm not sure. I mean, why so long into October 1st? I'm fine with the
But we
end of
only-
August.
Because no one's doing anything in
Right.
August. People go away.
Yeah, we have
In
one meeting
terms
in
of-
August and
right.
then
We know
we get
that.
into
So
the second week of September.
It gives somebody the month of September to get their act. If
Right.
it's not like somebody.
Okay, I don't hate it. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily agree with the premise that nobody does anything.
I'm in support of that proposal though, because I think that people have already spent a lot of money on planning. No one's going to be able to start right now and be able to make these renovations by October 1st. It's for the people who've already spent a lot of money based on the old codes, who are the ones that are going to get hurt. So if we give a 30-day leeway, I'm supportive of
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Do we have to put in there the change from 7 feet to 9 feet and 5 feet to 7 feet?
it is in there.
It's in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what we've been talking about. It's in there and then
I
the
didn't know if we had to amend
25%.
it. No, okay.
Yeah, we're amending it to 25%.
No, I understand
that
that
we're
part,
taking out.
okay.
So I made the motion. Is there a second?
Second, it's mine.
On the amendment,
Do you want?
right?
Yes.
Daffis,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Bengel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you. As amended. There you go. You got time.
Now we have to introduce it.
Yeah, we got- Go ahead.
No, so the amendment,
Amendment.
Take it back.
the
Saying
amendment
it's second reading.
It
effectuated
does introduce,
Mhm.
okay.
the introduction. So the ordinance will now be on for second reading as amended on August 6th, and there'll be a republication.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good discussion. We move on now to introduction of ordinances for which we have none. Then we'll move on to administrative reports. Mr. Wary.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to highlight a few of the employee appointments that are on tonight's agenda. We have a resolution appointing Sabrina Ruggiero as our public defender for this calendar year. We are moving Myra Castillo. She's being hired as a custodian in Public Works. We are moving Ayana Mays, who's currently in our property maintenance division, and she is moving to a position in Public Works, which we're excited about. That position specifically was funded as a new position in this year's budget to help us increase our ability to respond to resident complaints. So we're excited to see her begin her work there. And lastly, the appointment of Lynn Ho as full-time manager of recreation in community services. Ms. Ho is currently a seasonal employee at the pool as a front desk manager. So we're excited to have her join us full-time. That's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions for Mr. Wary? No. Okay, we'll move on to Township Attorney. You're getting a lot of front time today.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have a proposal before the TC tonight as a late item. This relates to a proposed affordable housing project at 95 Tiffany Place. It is a brand new two-family, 2 units that is proposed to be acquired by an affiliate of a nonprofit. The name of the nonprofit is 9395 Tiffany Place Urban Renewal Corporation. They have received financing from the state of New Jersey, Department of Community Affairs, and they would like to acquire this building and to implement 2 affordable housing units, both which would be affordable to families earning less than 30% of area median income. The ordinance that's before you tonight, if you choose to introduce it, would authorize a long-term tax exemption under the cleverly named long-term tax exemption law for a period not to exceed 30 years in order to make that affordable housing project a reality. It's being presented as a late starter tonight because of the timing with respect to the DCA financing. I know that's obviously not usually the township's preference, but it would help implement almost $1 million of grant funding that's been proposed by the state of New Jersey and would also help get 2 families into a beautiful, brand new building right around the start of the school year.
Okay, I believe Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Affordable Housing, you're going to read the ordinance that we are going to be proposing for tonight.
Yes, just want to state that the Affordable Housing Board has been talking about this for 6 months. We've met with developer who built the project. We've met with Sierra House. Ms. Credidio and I have met with Sierra House a number of times. Megan York, our affordable housing consultant, and I have met with Sierra House a number of times, and we think this is a very good project. It will put 2 units, as Ms. Credidio said, for very low income folks on our rolls. This is a population that we're not able to reach through our typical set aside through for-project properties. So this is a big deal, and we are moving it because we want to protect the house. The owner is seeking to move forward with this, and we want to make sure that the owner doesn't decide to pull out and sell the house and we lose this opportunity. So while this is something very rare that we do as a walk-on or late starter ordinance, we thought that there was an emergency here and therefore we're doing that. So in light of that, I will ask you to bear with me while I read the ordinance, and then I'll introduce it after that. So this is ordinance 3127-24. It's an ordinance of the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex granting a tax exemption with respect to certain property identified on the township tax map as block 43.03 and lot 233.02 and designated in the township tax records as 95 Tiffany Place, Maplewood, New Jersey, and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with 93-95 Tiffany Place Urban Renewal Corporation. The interpretive statement. This ordinance will authorize an agreement for payments in lieu of taxes for 2 affordable housing units pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law. Whereas 93-95 Tiffany Place Urban Renewal Corporation, hereafter called the entity, is the contract purchaser of certain property identified on the official tax maps of the Township of Maplewood, hereafter called the Township, as block 43.03, lot 233.02, and designated in the Township tax records as 95 Tiffany Place, hereafter referred to as the property. And whereas the entity proposes to acquire the property and to implement 2 affordable housing units thereon, with 1 unit having 2 bedrooms and 1 unit having 3 bedrooms, and that's called the project. And whereas in order to improve the feasibility of the project, the entity made application to the Township requesting a long-term tax exemption and financial agreement with respect to the property pursuant to the exemption law as a 100% affordable project, which application is on file with the Township clerk. And whereas the entity has represented to the Township that the project would not be feasible in its intended scope, but for the provision of financial assistance by the Township. And whereas the Township determined that the assistance provided to the project pursuant to this agreement will be a significant inducement for the entity to proceed with the project, and that based on information set forth in the application, the project would not be feasible without such assistance. And whereas after review of the application, the mayor recommended that the application be approved. And whereas after review of the application, the Township now desires to approve the application and to authorize the execution of the proposed form of financial agreement in substantially the form attached hereto as Exhibit A, together with such additions, deletions, and modifications deemed necessary or desirable by the Township in consultation with council. Now therefore be it ordained by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex, New Jersey as follows. 1, general. The affirmation recitals are incorporated herein as fully set forth at length. 2, application for exemption approved. The application, which is on file with the Township Clerk and which has been recommended for approval to the Township Committee by the Mayor, is hereby accepted and approved. 3, execution of financial agreement authorized. The mayor is hereby authorized to execute the financial agreement substantially in the form attached hereto as Exhibit A, subject to modification or revision deemed necessary or desirable by the Township in consultation with council, and to take all other necessary or appropriate action to effectuate such financial agreement. B, the Township Clerk is hereby authorized and directed upon the execution of the financial agreement in accordance with the terms of Section 3A hereof to attest to the signature of the mayor upon such document, and is hereby further authorized and directed to affix the corporate seal of the Township upon such document. C, in accordance with Public Laws 2015, Chapter 247, within 10 calendar days following the latter of the effective date of this ordinance or the execution of the financial agreement by the entity, the Township Clerk shall transmit a certified copy of this ordinance and the financial agreement to the Chief Financial Officer of Essex County and to the Essex County Council for informational purposes, as well as to the tax assessor of the Township. Item 4, severability. If any part of this ordinance shall be deemed invalid, such parts shall be severed, and the invalidity thereby shall not affect the remaining parts of this ordinance. 5, availability of the ordinance. A copy of this ordinance shall be available for public inspection at the offices of the Township Clerk. 6, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect according to law. Public notice is hereby given that the foregoing proposed ordinance was introduced and read by title at a meeting of the, well, it was read in total at a meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood held on July 16th, 2024, and that the Township Committee will meet again on August 6th, 2024 at 8 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 574 Valley Street, Maplewood, New Jersey, at which time and place the Township Committee will hold a hearing and proceed to consider the said ordinance on final reading and final passage.
Did you want to
Therefore,
move?
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on August 6th, 2024.
I'll second. Ms. Fritzen, if anybody's still watching.
Ms. Bright,
Yes.
Traffus,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Zangle.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor, I think we ought to, in light of the fact that this is not something we do normally, and the press and the residents may have questions about this, we ought to prepare something that we have ready to share, explaining the circumstances here, why this is such a win for the township. It's a major win for the township. The state of New Jersey is sending the township nearly $1 million to finance this project, and also explaining a bit the terms of the exemption and how this is very appropriate. All things considered, this is very appropriate and a big win. So I think we should have something prepared.
Well, I think Mr. DeLuca clearly stated what that was, and if members of the press or public are watching, we'll certainly answer any questions I have. So I don't know that a prepared statement is necessary, but our administrator and our attorney certainly can handle any questions that come in.
Others feel differently.
Well, I mean, I always feel like statements are good. As the communications chair, I mean, I agree that I think what we should focus on is though, if this passes, all the benefits that Maplewood's getting and how we do different types of affordable housing here, which I think is really interesting and innovative. And I think it is a lot of good things happening with this particular project that we should highlight for sure, because I think good press on this is good press for Maplewood.
Yeah, we could do, I think we did we do a ribbon cutting already over there? No.
No. Well,
We could do a ribbon cutting when it opens, and we can also say more things about how good it is when it's on for second reading in August.
And perhaps we can talk more about this at our next communications committee meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Can you put it on the agenda?
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Credidio, did you have anything further?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for our attorney? Ms. Fritzen, your turn.
Just a couple of things, Mayor. Happy to report that since our last meeting, in the alcove off the lobby, called Cat's Corner, we are up to date on the bronze tablets reflecting mayors of Maplewood. And 3 of you are sitting up here on the dais now. So that would be Mr. DeLuca, Mr. Daffis, and Mayor Adams, as well as Mr. McGeehee. And I sent you all a photo shot. And we're now working on the photos. So I feel good that that'll be a project we're finally going to catch up on. So if you're around, take a look. And yeah, I'm happy about that. I also want to report that our next meeting, August 6th, so just a reminder that we will be convening at 8 p.m. due to National Night Out. And all the advertisement by law has been made for that, as well as a cancellation of your second meeting in August. And my final thing is, 4 more event planning meetings are happening at the tail end of this week and next week for 4 major scale events. And I know you will all comment on Maplewood stock, so I will not. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Clerk Fritzen? No. Okay, moving on to reports from elected officials. Committee Member Engel.
I have great news from our health department. Maplewood has received the NJACCHO Sustaining Local Public Health Infrastructure Grant Award. in the amount of $168,049 for the time period of July 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2026. This is a new and supplemental grant that we've never had before. And a little bit about it is through the vision of CDC and the federal government, they are providing funding to sustain a local public health infrastructure with a focus on workforce continuity and resiliency, using data and technology to improve public health services and reducing health disparities. This is what funds our robust local health department and great employees, which gives us the ability to host health fairs, provide free or low-cost health screenings and vaccinations to the community, and explore expanded programming for mental health prevention and other social supports. So really excited for our health officer, Candace Davenport, and our whole public health office for receiving this grant.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, it's still summer, so I have to talk about the pool. August only memberships are open. So if you've been visiting the pool on these heat wave days or coming to see our fabulous Makos, like they had their last home meet today, and want to take part in the pool, there are August only memberships. We also have in-water adult fitness classes starting on Wednesdays and Thursdays. They start July 17th, and there is a dive-in movie coming on July 26th. And there are still some openings in our weekday swim, learn to swim program. So that is my report. I'm assuming you're going to talk about July 4th. Yeah, you can. It was a great July 4th, but I will leave that to Mr. DeLuca to wrap up. Report.
Any questions for committee member Engel?
What is the current record for the team this year?
Well, to my daughter's disappointment, I had to leave early, so I don't know if they won or not. I think that they were 4-2 going into the meet today, and then they have their final meet this coming Thursday in Morris Township, I believe, evening. And then divisionals are Monday, and then the meet of champions is next Thursday. So congrats to all of our swimmers.
Good job. Anything else? Nope. All right. Committee member Daffis.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few quick items. As you know, in code, we have been focusing a lot on zoning and moving forward a lot of amendments and reconsidering a lot of things as recommended by our master plan. So we're moving a lot of those things forward. I want to recommend to our administration that we publicize those meetings a little bit more so that we can get members of the public to know about them and to come to them in the way that we publicize some of the other standing committees. They are public meetings, and we can have members of the public, and we've had members of the public come to code. I think that would be really helpful. So I have an update from the Maplewood Community Board on Police, which released its annual report, the 2024 report. It is on our website. Thank you, Mr. Wary, for doing that. There are 3 goals for 2024 by the Maplewood Community Board on Police. They are community outreach, restorative justice, and civilian complaint and use of force review. On community outreach, they're looking to create more opportunities to be out there in the community, to talk about the board, and to interface with our police department. They had one such meeting not too long ago, and they're talking about a meeting in the fall, a community town hall type of thing. And one of the members of the board, our co-chair, Ms. Picards, came to public safety committee meeting last Wednesday and talked about collaborating with the township in such a town hall where folks can come and talk about their public safety concerns and ask questions. So we look forward to coordinating that. On the restorative justice end, we really need to start rebuilding our restorative justice program. It is currently all we're doing are station house adjustments, which are not exactly the same as restorative justice. So we're doing some research on best practices, and we'll be speaking to the county, which is piloting their own restorative justice program, to see what exactly they're doing. And on the civilian complaint and use of force review, which is one of the functions of the Community Board on Police, we are looking at putting together our SOPs. our operating procedures and our review rubrics so that we have some sort of consistency and uniformity going forward. When those of us who are no longer on the community board on police, that everyone will know how to review these things. And lastly, I do want to note for the public, in case they didn't notice, and this is important as it relates to something that happened here in Maplewood, directly related. Governor Murphy signed 13 bills last week, new legislation, 13 different laws. And one of them is the New Jersey Foreclosure Fair Act. Foreclosure Act. And it brings New Jersey finally in alignment with not only the U.S. Supreme Court, but the rest of the country. So now homeowners or their heirs are allowed to reclaim any excess equity during a foreclosure by requesting their property be sold at a judicial sale or online auction. So families can get the right of first refusal to purchase their home at a sheriff's sale. And the law goes further to create a community wealth preservation program, which will give not just homeowners that opportunity, but nonprofits can do that as well on behalf of homeowners and on behalf of the community. And that is a big win, as we all know. We had a situation here, a very sad situation in Maplewood, which made the New York Times and national news. And we're glad to see that New Jersey is now joining the rest of the nation in this matter. And last but not least, I think we all heard that Senator Menendez was convicted on all counts of corruption and bribery. In a jury of his peers during a fair trial decided that he was guilty of vast, unconscionable personal enrichment, of violating the public trust, and of also being a foreign agent, betraying the country. And so I'm really proud that we as a governing body did call for him to step down, and I think we should renew our call for him to be stepped down. We're not sure what the process is here post-conviction. I'm sure there will be an appeal, but the senator still has access to very confidential documents and a lot of influence and power. And I think we ought to call for him to step aside immediately in light of the unanimous, all 16 counts conviction today. And that's my report.
Any questions for committee member Davis? Nope. Deputy Mayor Cripe.
Very quickly, just wanted to congratulate the folks behind Maple Woodstock and for a successful weekend. It was crazy hot, and the numbers were a little lower than we expected, but it was a wonderful, wonderful event. And I hope that folks, they enjoyed themselves. And we'll take the point and make time to actually be a part of the committee, because they are also looking for new members on the committee as well. Public safety, we've had heat advisory days. Pretty much for the last 6 weeks, we've had 1 or 2 a week. And luckily for us, we have a strong Office of Emergency Management that maintains cooling centers as well as opening the pool for our residents. So if you find yourself in a position where you need assistance or a cooling center, please call our non-emergency police number, which is 973-762-1234, and they will get you set up. And then finally, letting folks know that we will be having our delayed Township Committee meeting on August the 6th because it's National Night Out. So please join us at DeHart Park here in Maplewood at 6 o'clock as an opportunity to actually engage directly with our law enforcement professionals and an evening of fun and food and just a good time. So come on out. And then that is my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Deputy Mayor Cripe? Committee member DeLuca, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. 4th of July, we had a blast. Thank you, my partner and I, Committee Woman Engel. We pulled it off. It was, and thank you for everyone coming out. Clearly, the highlight was the ice cream eating contest in which I took a whole mouthful of ice cream.
Yes, you
won.
did. Yes, you did.
And I was the victor.
I was
Congratulations, sir.
Yes, yes.
I always wanted to say that.
That was
Yes,
so cold. I was really hoping someone would win really fast. 'cause
Yeah.
I didn't want to
Even
hear
Travis and I were
I mean,
concerned
it was
about our.
horrible, but it was horrible. It was a, it was a good event.
glad he
I
won,
think,
yes.
Congrats.
there's some things we'll do differently next year, but it was nice having a couple activities over at the air-conditioned community center at D Hart. And it was nice to have different activities around town too.
Mhm.
And
So
who won Best in
continue
Show
that.
in the dog thing? I'm
Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. I forgot to say, who won the
It's the
best? I
purest.
think it was best costume.
I was best actually
Best
overall.
costume was
Best
Deputy Mayor
overall.
Pipe.
No, best overall.
You said you were going
It
to.
was the dog. It was her dog.
Who's the dog?
It was my work.
No, but she was dressed up too.
I was dressed
She
up
was
as
dressed
well.
So anyway, it was a blast, and literally the fireworks were a blast too, so that was good. As were the Juneteenth fireworks were terrific.
Oh, they really were.
They did an
Yeah.
excellent job.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So I want to run through some things we discussed at Engineering Public Works, which I think are important for the public to know about and also just ourselves. I've talked in the past, we have a plan for the woodland. It's a historic preservation plan that's being prepared by a firm, Connolly and Hickey. They're historical architects, and this was funding we received from the state. And with this funding, you develop the plan, and it makes us eligible for future funding. In any event, we'd like to invite Margaret Hickey to our September 17th meeting at the Township Committee to make a presentation on her report. So we could put that down as a presentation for that evening at the meeting. And so we're moving forward. We've been meeting every month, and we've gotten some recommendations. There's a slew of recommendations. We got some yesterday. We haven't seen the price tag, but I'm sure it will be high. A couple other things. D Hart Field. We've talked a lot about this. Every time each of us runs for office, we talk about how much we're going to do for D Hart Field.
Now,
Well, we have $65,000 that we received in a grant from the Department of Environmental Protection. And we also have some funds in our capital budget, which we're putting together to go out for a proposal for consultants to come in and really develop a plan to fix that field. And it's going to take, reconstructing that field. It's just not, all this tinkering that we've been doing is just not working. So it's great that we got this money from the state. $65,000 is a great grant. And the draft RFP is ready. And then we'll also make sure that we include public engagement, a lot of public engagement in the process, so that we're talking to users and the neighborhood there, and that any of the design folks get to really understand what that field is about as they think about moving forward. So that's something that will happen. I believe we're going to try to get this out in the street in the fall, and that'll be a project in 2025. This design project, and then we'll figure out what the cost is, and we'll look for outside money from the state and other sources, and then also our capital budget. Couple other things I wanted to mention: the Maple Terrace Drainage Program. We today came on a date that we could. We had our consultants and engineer available for a public meeting. And that is July 30th at 7:30 p.m. and we're shooting for the Woodland. So we will be putting together, I did a draft invite letter that I sent to Mr. Weary, and he will be reviewing it, and then we'll get it out on the street so people can know. It'll be an in-person meeting because we have a lot of maps to show folks and documents, and these are detailed questions, and we've always find these kind of charrettes or these information meetings are always better when they're done in person.
And what time is that in the evening?
7:30.
7:30.
7:30. The 30th of July. And we're going to try to do it. We're going to do it in the parlor so that we have air conditioning.
Thank you.
Why? Has it been hot? I haven't.
And I know we've talked about traffic calming a lot. A couple things. One, we want to do some traffic calming on Springfield Avenue. Well, we did get a grant 2 grants actually to repave and do some work on the sidewalks up there and of course the crosswalks. That will be done in the spring of 2025. We're finishing up our construction documents. We'll put that on the street for bidding, and then hopefully we'll bid in early 2025 and get the work started in the spring. And then additionally, we have a number of traffic calming projects around town. What we're doing now is instead of going out individually for these, we put together a unified package that goes out to bid. And that is being worked on now, and we'll be sending that out, and it'll include a number of the streets and corners and whatever that we've been talking about over the last few years. And I think that is it from engineering public works. I did want to mention one other thing with historic preservation. We did get a $45,000 grant from the state to do the historic preservation element of the master plan. We had a kickoff meeting on Monday, and we're going to get that started. We'll do RFPs in the fall, and hopefully get a consultant on board and work get started on doing that element. Our Affordable Housing Board is going to interview 4 developers based on our request for interest in developing affordable housing in Maplewood, and those developers, we're going to be doing that on Monday the 22nd and Monday the 29th. And our hope is that we'll have a recommendation to the Township Committee on September 3rd. And the last thing I wanted to just share with you is a story out of the Times of a report from a nonprofit group called Climate Central that looked at temperature data since 1970. And sadly, and I'll just read right here, while average annual temperatures across the country have increased by about 2.5 degrees since 1970, annual temperatures in New Jersey have increased by roughly 3.5 degrees.
The highest.
So we are way above. We're the 3rd fastest warming state in the country. And I know we're feeling it here, but in general, we talk a lot about our efforts at sustainability, our work at the library of making it an all-electric building and using solar, our community energy plan that we put together, all of our discussion about sustainability and how we're going to move forward. Well, this is all a response, and I think it's important that we know how difficult it is out there. And I'm just hoping that municipalities across the state and across this country and across the world are doing what they can, or doing some of what we can here. It's not getting better.
No.
And that's my uplifting remarks for tonight.
You should have ended with this cartoon you left in my.
I could have.
Any questions for committee member DeLuca?
No questions for you, but I did just in the Makos did win their final.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, that's great.
Don't quote me, I can't remember.
It's a winning season. Wow. All right, just a couple things from me. Maple Woodstock went off really well, except for some thunderstorms on Sunday, but the heat did keep people away till later in the day, and then it was as full as it always is. So hopefully they won't have any trouble for next year getting vendors, but you know, outdoor events are always fun to plan because they're always a toss-up of whether or not they're going to go over well. Weather is something we can't control, and it's getting hotter, as Mr. DeLuca just said. Just one quick update on New Jersey American Water. As everyone knows, they're replacing lead pipes throughout the state. And we're recently doing so in Maplewood. There was some communication issues. Mr. Weary has been in touch on our behalf with New Jersey American Water, and Mr. Weary, our engineer Paul Kittner, and I will be meeting, setting up a meeting soon with New Jersey American Water at their suggestion to talk about our communication, talk about New Jersey American Water's communication. There was some confusion about the pictures that they are distributing to sections that had the lead pipes. And Mr. Weary, can correct me if I mess up any of this information, but basically this is a EPA, a federal EPA requirement, but that's not starting till either the end of this year or next year. And New Jersey American is starting that now, and that is the requirements for flushing out water when the pipes have been changed from lead to copper, and also using these pitchers for drinking water, excuse me, only. You can still brush your teeth, wash your hands, bathe with the water because it doesn't come through the skin. It's only for drinking water that they need the pitchers. So you don't need a pitcher to clear your water through for your showers and baths and things like that. But Mr. Ware, I'll ask if you have anything more to add than that, but we are planning on meeting with them to improve communication when they're doing the lead pipes. Did I miss anything?
No.
No?
So, and I only to add that New Jersey American Water has acknowledged some shortcomings in their communications, and they've
Mhm.
committed to us that they'll work to improve those. They have implemented these new federal regulations for providing the pitchers and recommending the 6-month flushing in advance of the federal timeline, which is in the fall of this year.
Mhm.
And they've started in Maplewood on that rollout, which is fortunate, I guess, for our residents, and that they get those pictures and the updated guidance sooner, but unfortunate that I think we were on the short end of how that communication rollout
Right.
was done. And so we'll work with New Jersey American Water for the benefit of our residents, but also as they roll this out to their other communities.
And our meeting with engineering will be included in that because going forward, New Jersey American wants to work with us on coordinating lead replacement with our existing road projects as they, which is a nice change of pace for a utility to want to rip up our roads before we repave them instead of after, which is often the case. Right. So, yeah, so that's it. Also, just a couple things from Melissa Mancuso today with adult water fitness starting tomorrow, Wednesdays and Thursdays at the pool at 11 a.m., running through pretty much through August, I believe. And also D Hart Park Fall Basketball is starting August 26th, so you can register for that coming up. So anybody have any questions for me or clarification? Okay, great. We'll move to our discussion items. As we talked about, these are mostly Mr. Daffis's as Chair of Code. I would like for the contractor containment and property maintenance during construction, I think since Annette Palma is here, it would be helpful for her when we talk about those to come up to the podium to clarify or answer any questions, just so we have so Mr. Daffis, kick it to you.
Most certainly, Mayor, and I agree with that. So we can do the first two together because they really actually do go together. Although the contractor containment, it's a hard thing to say there, alliteration, right? 3 C's in a row, would be added to the construction maintenance things that we're talking about. Okay, so what is this? We're talking about necessary prior approvals to any kind of zoning, demolition, or construction permit. And then after you get your permit to do construction, required property maintenance during the construction. And why are we talking about that? So that we could have all of the necessary information that we need in order to appropriately approve a construction permit, and also to ensure public safety during the construction. So that's what we're going after here. And I'm going to just summarize some of the recommendations here that I think that we should adopt. And I had it open and here it is right now. Okay. So in terms of prior approvals, what we're talking about here are all required surveys, right? Foundation location, ridge height. We're talking about a tree survey of the property, and they must indicate whether or not they will, the applicants for zoning permits, whether or not it's going to involve tree removal. Of course, this feeds really well into our strengthened tree ordinance. But having a survey of trees and also a landscape survey would get us to the result that we want. We've seen some really bad construction jobs lately, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. A certificate of rodent remediation, so the applicant must show proof of vermin control and or remediation, and that comes from our health officer in the health department. And then the required safety plan. So we want to make sure that all of the exterior work, demolitions, renovations, construction, all of the construction is being done in a way that preserves public safety, not just the walkways and the sidewalks, but also limitations on construction height, limitations on distance of construction to the lot line, and all the required protections, construction railings, construction netting, some kind of barrier from the sidewalk and or walkway. And of course, the making sure that all materials and construction equipment are staged appropriately and stored appropriately. And we talk also here about portable toilets when no permanent operable toilet otherwise exists on the construction site, dumpsters and garbage containers. These are all the things together that, when done properly, make for good construction, and when not done properly, create a lot of issues, public safety issues, and lots of emails from surrounding residents and neighbors who have to live with this on and on from month to month. So those are some of the recommendations. The recommendations have been forwarded in advance of our meeting tonight to the members of the Township Committee for their review. I recommend that we move forward with them and adopt them. Any
Does anyone
discussion?
have any discussion? Oh, a
No,
thumbs
sounds
up.
good ideas.
Mr. Palma, did you have anything you want to add, or did he cover everything you wanted?
She's good.
That was a no. I think we have it, but I want to thank you for all your hard work in getting that all compiled finally.
Did you want me to talk about containment?
No, that was, no,
Oh, I thought you did.
Yeah.
I misunderstood you.
I misunderstood me too.
Okay. And then the last thing is, so I covered number one and number two, those went together. And the last thing is a contractor contaminant containment. And this came from our mayor, who had been talking to fellow mayors and other elected officials in other parts of the state. And this is another way of preserving public safety and public health in this instance during the use of certain materials during construction. And if I'm going to pull this up to get the language correct, because it is, Mayor, if you wanted to,
Yeah, and it's basically just keeping, it's related to what you were talking about before, but it's specific to sawing PVC pipe, or, having a setup for a contractor, much like we do for containing dust when, by tarping a house, when a painter is painting a house, to keep the particles. So safety equipment for the worker, as well as containing the area, so that specifically microplastics and plastics don't get exposed to the environment, go on the ground, go into our stormwater system, and therefore into the waters of the state of New Jersey. So it's something they're doing down the shore. I don't remember which municipality off the top of my head, Margate or something.
Margate,
Um,
yep. Yes, so this is an ordinance amending our construction code to specifically regulate a contractor's handling of polycarbonate and other materials, including fiberglass, concrete, and pressure-treated wood.
mhm.
These materials create instant microplastics, which become environmental hazards in our water, in our soil. They contaminate. They're in our air. Actually, I was reading something.
Yeah.
I think I shared this with folks during Code, Mayor. I was reading that these microplastics are getting in our bodies. They're like in our hearts,
Or in our lungs.
in our lungs as well. Like people who have had heart surgery, surgeons have found these things in people's hearts during heart surgery. So these things we're inhaling them. And we got to do whatever we can to prevent the dust particles from entering the environment. And that's what this ordinance would do. So I recommend that we move forward with such ordinance. We have a couple of recommendations. We might cobble together a little bit of Margate's and a little bit of somebody else's, I think, Monmouth
Yeah.
Monmouth Beach, I think it was, and introduce at the next township committee if we're all in favor of that.
Everybody go with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
All right,
you.
great. Thank you, Mr. Deffis. We now move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Second.
Right,
Yes.
Staffis,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
So much.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. We come to our public comment on any subject matter. So anyone in the house or anyone on Zoom would like to speak to the township committee? Yeah.
Any members of the public joining us on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. I am moving over Sharon Antoine Dixon to panelist for public portion.
Yes, you can,
Welcome to the public portion. You may unmute yourself and have 3 minutes to address the committee.
See, but she's not up there.
Yeah. Good
Yes.
evening, Mayor.
We
Good
can hear
evening,
you.
Mayor Adams. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Sharon Antoine Dixon. Just inquiring about my proposal for Brown Street parking. Has the committee really assessed and evaluated the possibility of increasing overnight parking at Brown Street? I'm just inquiring, Mayor Adams. I'm not sure the committee has addressed that as yet.
No, we have not. I know we talked with our engineer about going over and checking it, but we will check back with him or through Mr. Weary to see if he's followed up with, his department has followed up with checking the parking and any possibilities over there. You know, I don't want you to think it's going to be like completely solved to your satisfaction because, you know, space is limited. And we'll see what we can do. Mr. Ware, you were also going to check other public parking areas nearby Brown Street with, to see if there's any, with Mr. Kittner, to see if there's any, opportunity for us to consider leasing. Is she going?
Yeah, any little assistance will be appreciated, Mayor. Because it's really a congestion parking situation over there with about, I can safely say about 6 multifamilies, 3 on each side of Brown Street, together with huge single families. Parking spaces there are very, very limited. So any little assistance will be appreciated.
Thank you. We will
Yeah.
definitely follow up. There's another neighbor of yours who I know Mr. Kittner has been in touch with, so thank you.
Thanks. All right.
Mr. Weary.
If any other members of the public would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we'll see you at 8 PM on August.
Second.
I guess I forgot to.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
Staffis.
Yes.
Luca.
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, we'll see you August 6th. That's 8.